Six, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here with a John Deere 3E series and a Kubota Standard L. We're going to take both of these tractors and hook them up to a load cell and see what kind of drawbar pulls we can get out of them. Now, full disclosure, I'm a Kubota dealer, and I can see that this is a bigger tractor. But apparently these two companies are unaware of that because they will continue to compare their machines to one another on different spec sheets and competitive comparisons. So we're going to go out here today, hook these things up, and see exactly what kind of drawbar pull we can get out of these two competitive tractors. So what we have out here is a load cell, this little S-shaped device right here that can measure the amount of pull on this chain. And we've taken the chain and secured it down here underground in a place that it can't move. This is our little meter right here that'll tell us exactly how much we're pulling. This is a 3,000-pound load cell, and in the testing that we were doing earlier, in four-wheel drive, both of these machines are able to max out the capacity of the load cell. So for our demonstration today, we're going to do all of this in two-wheel drive. It's not that we're trying to hide something, it's simply that this guy can't show numbers beyond 3,000 pounds. So the first tractor that we're going to test here is the John Deere 3E, and this tractor in particular is the 32-horse version, the 3032E. One thing that we will always point out on this series tractor is that oddly it's a two-range transmission. It only has a low and a high gear, where the Kubota would have a low, medium, and high. Now, the low could be possibly very, very low and be able to give this tractor just as much pull as its competitive brother over here. But being that it is actually a little bit smaller tractor than the Kubota, a little bit less weight, a little bit less machine, an aluminum rear end, I'm not expecting that we're going to see the kind of numbers that we would out of our orange competitor over here. So let's start this machine up and see what it's capable of doing. Full revs with the hydro pushing down just before the point that it goes to relief and low range. You can see there that I was spinning, and I did have the diff lock engaged right down here. I was criticizing this diff lock in an earlier video because I was having a hard time getting it to kick on, and there it actually did. So you can see we were able to break traction here, but we did have the diff lock engaged so both wheels were turning. One was not freewheeling over here on the other side. So the numbers move fairly quickly across the screen down here, but in low range, the John Deere with the diff lock enabled was able to pull about 1,400 pounds, at which point the tires are able to break loose and spin. Doing it in high range got us up to about 1,100 pounds, but the tires were not breaking loose at that point. That's where we hit the relief point in the hydrostatic transmission, and that is to be expected. You know, low range is going to have a lot more torque and a lot more pull than high range does. So let's bring around our Kubota competitor now and see how that compares. Now, the astute among you will notice that behind this tractor there is no ballast. We had a 500 pounds of ballast on the back side of the John Deere because there is no fluid or anything in the tires. This tractor does have fluid in the tires, so there's around 500 pounds or so of liquid in the tire. Now, typically, having the weight behind the tractor is a little bit more effective when it comes to traction. So in the ballasting of these two machines, there is actually a small advantage given to the John Deere. So now we're going to take the Kubota we've hooked up to our load cell back here, and we're going to do our two-wheel drive low range test first. So as you can see from that test here, we came up with a 2,800 pound number here from the Kubota, nearly double what we were able to pull in the Deere tractor. And that number was bouncing up against the upper limit of the load cell at times, so it could have even possibly been higher than that. That included, from that big number, you can see from our chain back here, we also pulled our mount point like way through the dirt over here, far farther than what we did when we were hooked up to the Deere. So even if our load cell is off a little bit, just the sheer result from us dragging this chain through the dirt back here is clearly very different between these two machines. So let's repeat that same test now in high range and see what kind of result we get. So in high range here, you can see the Kubota is able to pull right about 1,300 pounds on the load cell where the Deere was doing 1,100. And really there you can see some of the differences between this 2-range and 3-range transmission, right? I mean, given the vast amount more that the Kubota is able to pull, having 3 ranges allows them to place that low range in a very low gearing, giving this tractor a lot of pull compared to its Deere counterpart. So that's our tug of war between a John Deere 3E series and a Kubota Standard L. If you're John Deere and you're going to do a competitive comparison in the future, give us a call and we'll loan you our load cell. If we can help you look at a tractor like this, if you're looking to purchase one, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messick's.com.